What if the same man, once locked up across 13 prisons, could become the same man guiding the next generation toward a better life? This is the story of Real Artillery, a Brixton-born rapper, grime pioneer, and ex-prisoner who turned his past into power. His journey isn't just about music. It's about redemption, community, and proving that even the hardest lives can be rewritten. Born and raised in Brixton, one of London's toughest neighborhoods, Real Artillery was surrounded by the reality of street culture. Violence, drugs, and gangs were everywhere. Like so many young people in the area, opportunities were limited. The choices were few: chase quick money or risk being left behind. For Artillery, the streets seemed like the only path forward. By his teens, he was already involved in criminal activity, and his name became known not for music, but for his reputation in the system. Yet beneath the chaos, there was always music. Growing up, he was inspired by the raw energy of UK garage and the birth of grime. The sound of London's underground scene gave him a voice, but at first, the streets spoke louder than the studio. Those choices carried heavy consequences. Over the years, Artillery spent 10 years behind bars, shuffled through 13 different prisons. It felt like a revolving door. Freedom, mistakes, punishment, repeat. Every time he thought he was done, the cycle pulled him back. But every cell, every transfer, every lonely night was teaching him something. At his lowest points, he realized he was wasting his potential. The system wasn't just punishment, it was a mirror, showing him what he was becoming. Inside those walls, he saw young men just like him repeating the same mistakes with no guidance, no hope, and no future. In a rare moment of candid reflection, he said, "There's not many paths back out. It's just one gridlock across another gridlock." That line, raw and real, comes straight from a YouTube interview where he speaks about those years behind bars, and it captures how trapped he felt, how every release just led back to the same cycle. That feeling of dead end is exactly what he came back to break. It was in that mirror that Artillery began to change. In his cell, he started writing bars on scraps of paper. Rhymes about pain, survival, regret, and a hunger for change. Music became his therapy, his escape, and eventually his mission. For the first time, he had clarity. He didn't want to be just another prisoner forgotten by the system. He wanted to come out and rewrite his story. By the time he walked out of those gates for the last time, Artillery wasn't the same man who had walked in. He had a story to tell and a purpose to fulfill. Re-emerging into the UK music scene, Artillery reconnected with his roots in grime. As part of the legendary Roadside G's, he helped shape the gritty, aggressive sound that defined an era of London music. Their energy was raw, their lyrics unfiltered, and they gave voice to a generation living the reality of the streets. His comeback in 2018 wasn't just about music, it was about reclaiming his identity.
In the years that followed, Artillery dropped projects that reminded listeners of his authenticity. Albums like Jim Brown in 2020 and Parabellum in 2022 proved he was still sharp, still hungry, still real. Singles like Adam's Family, The Wrap-Up, The Legacy, and most recently Vendetta Freestyle in 2025 showed how his pen had grown even stronger. But this time, his lyrics weren't about glorifying the life he once lived. They were about transformation. They carried scars, lessons, and hard-earned wisdom. For the UK grime scene, Real Artillery wasn't just another artist returning to the mic. He had become proof that even the hardest lives can evolve into leadership. But he didn't stop there. In 2025, Artillery took his mission beyond music and into the community. He teamed up with the Community Skills and Knowledge Network as part of the My Tomorrow campaign to launch a 3-week mentorship program at the Meadow Road Youth Center in Dudley. Backed by a £12,000 grant from the West Midlands Violence Reduction Partnership, the project was built on one idea: reach young people through the same thing that once saved him: music. Inside the youth center, the program wasn't about lectures or rules. It wasn't about punishment or statistics. It was about connection. Teens were given the tools to write songs, record verses, and tell their own stories. Artillery guided them step by step, showing them how the same energy once used for crime could be flipped into creativity. These weren't just rap sessions, they were life lessons. Every lyric became a mirror. Every beat was a chance to reflect, to imagine a new path, to believe that tomorrow could be different. One of the young people who stepped up was 17-year-old Zaidaan Abdin. Inspired by Artillery's mentorship, he wrote and recorded an original track called Went Legit. In his lyrics, he told the story of temptation, quick money, and the dangerous pull of street life, but also of walking away, choosing a better path, and building something real. His song wasn't just music, it was a declaration of change. For Zaidaan and others like him, the project was about more than rap. It was about identity. It was about realizing that their lives had value and that they weren't trapped in the cycle forever. For the first time, they saw someone who had lived their struggles and made it out. Someone who proved that mistakes don't have to define your future. Real Artillery's story is bigger than grime, bigger than prison, bigger than any single track. It's about possibility. It's about second chances. It's about proving that the same people society once throws away can become the same people who lift up the next generation. From the prison yard to the recording booth, and now to the youth center, Artillery has turned pain into purpose and scars into lessons. His journey proves that redemption is real, that music has the power to heal, and that one man's transformation can inspire a whole community. So, the next time you hear his name, don't just think of a rapper. Think of a mentor. Think of a survivor. Think of a leader who refused to be defined by his past. Real Artillery's life shows us one powerful truth. No matter how far you've fallen, tomorrow can always be rewritten.
And that's the story of Real Artillery. From 13 prisons to mentoring the next generation and inspiring songs like Went Legit. What do you think about his journey? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next story. Thanks for watching, and remember, tomorrow can always be rewritten.